Alright, so last time I did a video about Miss Marvel, I talked about how she simply is not a well-known or well-liked character, and that people aren't really jumping at the bit to watch her show. It's in fact one of the least watched shows of the Marvel miniseries sort of group. However, I watched the series as a whole instead of just the first episode, and I wanted to see, is there somewhere that the show can improve? Is there some way for it to actually be worth viewing and spending my time viewing? And I can confidently say, after watching the entire thing, no, it is not all that good. In fact, it's pretty bad. But before I get into all the things I don't like, I do want to get all the positives out of the way. Eating dessert first. There was this cool looking shot in episode 4 where it's panning away from Kamala and she's at the partition. She got sent back in time. I liked powers and how they came to her. I think that was really interesting. It's probably the best fleshed out part of the entire show. Kamala, the actress, is the only person who looked like she had even a slight bit of fun playing her role. Everybody else looked like they were just acting to just act. Nobody else really felt like a real person. And there even is a point where Kamala does something that doesn't feel very real. But we're going to get into that. I thought Ishtar was pretty cool. The only reason I really remembered her name was because everyone kept saying it all the time. But she is very important. I liked the little paradoxical thing that went on in episode 5. How Kamala ended up saving her own grandma, even though if she hadn't saved her, then she still would have had to save her, because that would be a grandfather paradox just played out. Because if she didn't get saved and didn't get put on the train, then she would simply not exist, which means she would have to save her. It's stupid, right? And I might be missing something here, maybe, but I still think that it's pretty dumb. Now, I think it's time that we get into the negatives of the story. So, the beginning of episode 2 has a scene where she sort of emulates this Bully McGuire type of thing, but the movie sort of plays it straight. Like, in Spider-Man 3, you can tell, like, oh, this guy thinks he's cool, but he's not really cool, because he doesn't know how to be cool. So he's just doing what he thinks is cool, and you get it, right? But here, not so much. You're like, dude, this is so awkward. Can't believe I'm watching this. And the way she's acting, and the way she's like bumping around, and like, hey, what's up? First of all, it's the beginning of the day in high school. Nobody is that happy. Nobody wants to be there. Everybody wants to go home. Everybody working there. There's literally nobody in the building who wants to be there. Very few people are smiling. If they are, they're joking with their friends. Like, it is not like that at all. So Kamala somehow convinces her parents to go to a party after somehow not getting punished for the fact that she snuck out to go to Avenger Con. That's a whole nother thing. It really doesn't come up until the last episode. And she goes to the party. She meets Cameron, and Cameron gives her number after he gets out of the car to drop her off at her house when the cops show up to the party. And Bruno's really angry, and this show keeps trying to have like a proto love triangle, but it just doesn't work because it's just so annoying, and they're not willing to commit to either side and really give each other's side like a sort of up in the game. So it's this really weird limbo. And also there's this other guy, this Red Dagger guy that shows up, which makes it like a love square. It's just so weirdly done. I don't like it. Then we have Nadia. She makes zero sense because she's like running for the board, but she even says that only 9-year-old men make it. She's a young girl. Why would she be voted in? Who would vote for her? She campaigns pretty hard, and she even pressures Kamala's dad into voting for her, which is stupid, right? And Bruno, he's so annoying. I said annoying, okay? He just aggravates me so much. He's just always around, and he's meant to be this smart, funny character, but instead, he's just annoying and dumb, and I don't like him. I can't stand him. He comes around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can we just get him out of the scene? He's the worst character in here. Nothing against the actor, because it's mainly the writing, right? he's not acting bad. I wouldn't say that anybody in here is like acting particularly bad. Cameron's mother, or whatever her name is, she looks weird, but other than that, like, everybody else is pretty much bringing like an A game. I wouldn't say the best game ever, but they're bringing AA game, and it's alright. It feels like someone took Andy Mack and they just took all the soul out of it, and they took everything that made the characters good and made all their development just go away, and then they just threw a bunch of people in there, but just kept the aesthetic and was like, oh, this show will work. Let's give her superpowers. That'll be even better. Like, it's just so bad. I don't even know what to say, really. Like, I can watch it and I'm like, what kind of enjoyment would you get out of this? And they just continue to milk the like attempts at suspense, and they're always like, oh, here's a cliffhanger, here's a cliffhanger, here's a cliffhanger. And maybe I'd be a little bit more enticed if I wasn't binging it. I will give the show that. But the show shouldn't have to rely on whether or not you're binging or you're watching, oh, I'm going to watch this Wednesday and I'm going to watch this Wednesday. Because I'm assuming these shows come out on Wednesday, given that the last episode came out on Wednesday. That just seems the most logical to me. Now, when it comes to the show as a whole, and the cast as a whole, I really think that, like I said earlier, Kamala's the best and everybody else sort of falls in line. Grandma is just weirdly there. We get a little character development between her and Kamala's mother. I don't even know what to call her. I'm sure she gets a name at some point. But like with Bruno, which I don't know if I brought that up or not, because I'm just sort of ranting right now. You don't really get their names down pat really well, especially if you're not paying like intense close attention, and even then they might not bring up a name for a couple of episodes. Except with Nadia or Nadia, they say her name all the time. I just don't hear the middle of it. I just hear Nadia. I'm like, Nadia, what's going on here? I'm thinking it's Nadia. She has like one semi-good scene where she's talking about how she's like found it hard to fit in the world, which is whatever. The show really tested my patience and my ability to sit in front of something that I really didn't like. You know, a lot of times you hear, oh, I didn't want to make this video, and I did. I won't lie for even a second and be like, oh, I didn't want to make this video, but boy, did I not want to watch this show. I did not want to watch this show. As to whether or not there'll be a season 2, I can't say, because the show is not going to do very well at all. There's no type of buzz. If you didn't start watching it already, don't watch it now. It's not even slightly good. Like, I would pay someone to remove it from my brain. There's just so much dumb stuff that I have to see in it. And the fact that pretty much everybody knows who Captain Marvel is. Captain Marvel. She wanna be Captain Marvel. Wanna be Captain Marvel is. Okay? Bruno knows, Cameron knows, her family knows, everybody in her family. Her brother's wife knows. The guy from the Sheik. The Sheik knows. The Sheik knows. I don't know if that's his name. That's his name on TikTok. Like the TikTok name that they show, that's the name they give him, so I don't know. To end off, I want to talk about a character that, in my eyes at least, amplifies pretty much the entire show. And it's one of the agents from the Department of Damage Control. I call her Obvious Racist Woman because that is all her character is, and there is no substance to her. The reason I consider her to be emblematic of the whole show is because she has no substance. She has nothing behind her. And we're supposed to just take her as simply a villain. And she's one of the main villains of the show. In fact, she's the main villain of the last episode. So, shouldn't we get a little something about her? I mean, get a 20-minute flashback. And episode 5 is basically just a flashback into the life of Ishtar. and we've got a villain for the finale of your first season. Why don't we give her a little nuance? Why don't we say, oh, this is why she's so aggressive towards these groups? Why does she seem like such an Islamophobic person, quote unquote? Like, what is it that makes her so bad, right? And we didn't get that. And I feel like that's pretty much occurring throughout the series, is that there's a chance and a possible setup. Just like the mosque shoe thief, there's a chance and a possible setup for something interesting, and it just never gets resolved. There's nothing there, and at the end of the day, it's not very good. So I'm gonna end it off here. At the end of the day, the show is pretty bad. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I wouldn't think that it was a show that anybody really would like, because it's not very good. Again, there's only so many ways you can say that the show sucks. Anyway, goodbye.